You're listening to Daily Prayer Stories, Cinematic Journeys of Faith, where everyday struggles meet eternal hope. Daily Prayer Stories presents Season 5, The Story of Hannah. Part 1, The Silent Years. A quiet Texas town. A marriage built on love. And a prayer that's gone unanswered. For far too long, the Texas sun sank behind the fields, brushing gold against the rows of dry grass that surrounded Hannah's farmhouse. The crickets had already begun their nightly chorus, filling the spaces that silence had carved over the years. Inside, the house was clean. Too clean? Every surface dusted, every dish put away, order trying to cover ache. Hannah sat at the kitchen table with her hands wrapped around a mug of chamomile tea that had long gone cold. Across from her, an empty chair. Her husband, Mark, had gone out to close the barn for the night. He'd be back soon, carrying that quiet heaviness he tried to hide, the same heaviness she wore differently. His looked like silence. Hers looked like tears she refused to let fall. The clock on the wall ticked. The sound filled the room, steady and cruel. She'd heard every night for 8 years. They had tried everything. Doctors, diets, prayers, every month brought hope. And then another line on a test that said no. She had memorized the sound of disappointment, her own breath catching. Mark soft, it's okay. The crumple of the wrapper going into the trash. But it wasn't okay. She loved God. She served at church. She prayed daily. And yet every baby shower invitation, every ultrasound picture posted online felt like a quiet reminder that heaven was still on mute. Her Bible lay open on the counter. The page bent to 1 Samuel chapter 1, where Hannah, another Hannah, had cried for a child. She had underlined one verse so many times that the ink had bled through the page. For this child I prayed, and the Lord hath given me my petition which I asked of him. 1 Samuel chapter 1 verse 27, King James Version. She traced the words with her finger and whispered, "But what if he doesn't?" Her voice cracked. The question hung in the air like smoke. Outside, a barn door slammed and Mark's boots crunched on gravel. She wiped her eyes, forcing a small smile before he came in. He stepped inside, brushing dust from his jacket. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey," she answered. He poured himself water, leaned on the counter, and watched her for a moment. "You've been reading that story again." She nodded. "I can't seem to stop." He sat across from her, reaching for her hand. "You don't have to keep asking like God didn't hear you the first 100 times. Her jaw trembled. "Then why is it still silent, Mark? Why do other people get miracles while we get quiet?" He didn't answer right away. He just looked down, thumb rubbing circles on her palm. "I don't know," he said finally. "But I still believe he's good." She wanted to agree. She wanted to say me too. But the words wouldn't come. Later that night, after he'd fallen asleep, Hannah sat on the porch. The Texas wind moved through the tall grass, carrying the smell of rain that hadn't yet fallen. The stars stretched wide across the sky, endless, untouched, unbothered. She whispered into the night, "God, are you there?" "I'm still here." The sound of her own voice startled her. It had been so long since she'd prayed without rehearsing, and in the stillness, something inside her broke, not in anger, but in surrender. The tears came quietly, washing through years of effort and disappointment. She didn't feel an answer, just a deep, unexpected peace, like a door had opened somewhere she couldn't see. Then a verse she hadn't read in years surfaced, like a whisper. "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning." Psalm chapter 30. Verse 5, King James Version. She exhaled, slow and trembling. "Then let the morning come," she said, and for the first time in months. She slept, not because the pain was gone, but because hope had dared to return. Part 2, The Call. When silence finally breaks, it doesn't always sound like what we prayed for. Tuesday morning came soft and gray, with clouds low enough to brush the treetops. Hannah woke before the alarm, lying still beside Mark, listening to the rhythm of his breathing. For the first time in a while, the quiet in her chest wasn't painful, just tender. She slipped out of bed, brewed coffee, and opened her Bible to the same passage she had read the night before. The words from 1 Samuel chapter 1 blurred slightly through the steam of her mug. "For this child I prayed, and the Lord hath given me my petition, which I asked of him." 1 Samuel chapter 1. Verse 27, King James Version. She traced the verse and whispered, "One day, maybe." It wasn't bitter. Not this morning. Just honest. She stood at the sink watching the rain start to fall, slow and steady. Texas rain never came quietly, yet today it seemed to match her mood, gentle, cleansing, patient dot by afternoon. She was driving into town, the windshield wipers brushing rhythmically against the drizzle. She'd promised to drop off supplies at the church pantry. Helping others had become her way of staying close to God when she didn't feel him close to her dot inside. Pastor Jim greeted her with his usual warmth. "Hannah, you braved the weather for us again." She smiled, handing him a bag of canned goods. "It's just rain. I faced worse." He chuckled. "That's true. You faced storms that didn't even make the forecast?" Hannah laughed politely, but didn't answer. He didn't mean anything by it, but sometimes simple words carried too much truth. As she turned to leave, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her pause. A woman's voice came through, clear but cautious. "Hi, is this Mrs. Hannah Brooks?" "Yes, this is she. My name's Natalie from Safe Haven Adoption Services. You and your husband attended one of our informational meetings last year, correct?" Hannah froze mid-step. "Yes, we did. I'm calling because a newborn was brought into the hospital early this morning," Natalie continued. "The birth mother requested a closed adoption, but left a note with one name, yours." Hannah's breath caught. "Mine?" "Yes, ma'am." "Yours specifically?" The air around her shifted. The background noise of the pantry disappeared. Pastor Jim's voice faded, and all she could hear was her heartbeat pounding in her ears. Natalie's tone softened. "I understand this is unexpected. I can give you and your husband some time to talk it over, but we'll need an answer within 24 hours. When Hannah got home, the rain had stopped, leaving the air thick and still. Mark was fixing the fence out back when she called him inside. He wiped his hands on a rag and gave her a questioning look. "What's going on?" She told him everything. The phone call, the baby, the note. Mark stared at her, stunned. She said your name?" Hannah nodded. "Yes, I don't even know how." He set the rag down slowly. "And the mother doesn't want to be contacted?" "No, closed adoption." Silence stretched between them. The old clock in the kitchen ticked. The sound felt louder than usual. Hannah's voice trembled. "Mark, what if this is the answer? What if this is what we've been praying for?" He looked down, rubbing the back of his neck. "Or what if it's another test? Another almost?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I can't think like that. I can't live waiting for God to say no again." Mark stepped closer, placing his hands on her shoulders. "And I can't let us rush into something that isn't from him." She shook her head, pulling away. "I know what I felt when she said my name, Mark. It was peace, not confusion. For the first time in years, I felt peace." He didn't answer. He just looked at her, torn between logic and longing. That night, neither of them slept. Mark sat in the recliner, staring at the flickering light of the muted TV. Hannah lay awake in their bed, whispering prayers she hadn't said aloud in months. "God, if this is from you, please make it clear. Don't let us miss it out of fear." At some point, she drifted into restless sleep, dreaming of a baby wrapped in a white blanket, a tag on her wrist that read Brooks. She woke before dawn, tears on her cheeks stopped by morning. She made coffee and waited. Mark came in quietly, still in yesterday's clothes, hair uncombed. He poured his own cup, sat down, and said nothing for a long time. Then finally he looked up. "When you were praying last night," he said, "I was asking God for the same thing. A sign. Something. Anything." Hannah's breath caught. And he nodded slowly. At 3:17 a.m., the power went out. For a few seconds, everything was pitch black. Then it came back on, and the radio started playing. The verse that came through, I don't even know what station it was. He picked up his Bible and turned the pages. Here, James chapter 1, verse 17. He read aloud, "Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning." Hannah's hands flew to her mouth. 3:17 a.m., James 1:17. Mark nodded. Yeah, coincidence? She shook her head, eyes filling. No, that's our answer. They sat there for a long time, neither speaking. Then Hannah reached for his hand. So, what do we do? He smiled through tired eyes. We say yes. That afternoon, they drove to the hospital in Waco. The halls smelled of antiseptic and possibility. Natalie met them at the front desk and led them down a corridor lined with nursery windows. When they reached the last one, she stopped. She's right there, Natalie said softly. Born yesterday morning. Healthy. Strong. Hannah looked through the glass. The baby was small, wrapped in pink, tiny fists, curled under her chin. Her chest rose and fell in steady rhythm. Something inside Hannah cracked open. The same place that had once felt like silence now flooded with life. She's beautiful, Mark whispered. Hannah nodded. Tears streaming freely. She looks like hope. Natalie smiled gently. If you'd like, we can finalize temporary placement paperwork today. You'll have a few weeks before the adoption becomes official. Hannah pressed a trembling hand against the glass. We don't need weeks, she whispered. She's already ours. That night, Hannah sat on the porch again, the baby asleep inside. The stars burned quietly above. She closed her eyes and prayed, Lord, I thought you were silent. But you were just waiting for the right time, the right name, the right heart. Thank you for remembering me, even when I stopped believing you would. She opened her Bible, flipping to Psalm chapter 126, verse 5. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. She smiled, whispering, and joy has a name now. Part 3, Homecoming. Miracles don't always come in thunder. Sometimes they arrive wrapped in a hospital blanket, quiet, small, and needing you more than you think you need them. The Texas sun rose soft and golden that Friday morning. Hannah stood in the hospital hallway holding a small car seat in one hand and Mark's arm with the other. Inside the seat was everything she'd ever prayed for, a newborn baby girl wrapped in a pink blanket with tiny white flowers. They named her Hope Grace Brooks. The name came easily, because she's both, Mark had said. She's Hope and Grace. The nurse smiled as she handed over the last set of papers. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Brooks. She's cleared to go home. Home. The word hit Hannah like sunlight through rain. For years, she'd avoided baby aisles, baby showers, baby anything. And now, here she was, fastening a newborn into a car seat she'd only dreamed of owning. Mark adjusted the straps, double-checking everything like it was sacred work. Ready? He asked. Hannah nodded, though her hands were trembling. I've been ready for 8 years. The drive home was quiet. Hope slept the whole way, her tiny breaths rising and falling in rhythm with the hum of the highway. Hannah sat turned sideways in her seat, watching her daughter's chest move. It felt fragile, impossible. Divine. Mark glanced in the rearview mirror. You keep staring. She's not going anywhere. I know, Hannah whispered, but I still can't believe she's real. He smiled softly. Me neither. The house looked different when they pulled into the driveway. Same white porch, same oak tree, same worn steps, but something about it felt redeemed. Mark carried the car seat inside first while Hannah followed, clutching a folded blanket. They set Hope's seat on the living room floor, and for a moment both of them just stood there, unsure of what to do next. Then Hannah sank to her knees beside the baby, touching her tiny fingers. Welcome home, she whispered. We prayed for you before we ever knew your face. Hope stirred, stretching one hand upward like a yawn in slow motion. It made Hannah laugh through her tears. She's saying, "Amen," Mark said from behind her, grinning. That evening, the house smelled like new beginnings. A mix of baby lotion, warm milk, and the faint scent of cornbread Mark had burned trying to cook dinner. They were exhausted, but it was a kind of exhaustion that felt holy. After laying Hope down in her crib, a second-hand one painted white, Hannah stood for a long time just watching her sleep. Her chest rose and fell. Her lips made tiny sucking motions in her dreams, and for the first time in 8 years. The house didn't echo any more later that night. Hannah sat by the window with her journal. She wrote in soft cursive, February 21st. "She's home. I still don't know how to thank you properly, Lord. For years I thought you'd forgotten me. But now I see you were writing her story while I was begging you to write mine. Hope Grace, you named her before I did." She closed the journal and reached for her Bible, turning to Psalm chapter 113, verses 7 to 9, King James Version. "He raiseth up the poor out of the dust, and lifteth the needy out of the dunghill, that he may set him with princes, even with the princes of his people. He maketh the barren woman to keep house, and to be a joyful mother of children. Praise of the Lord." She read the last line twice, tears falling quietly onto the page. "Praise of the Lord," she whispered, "even when the wait feels endless. Especially then." Mark joined her by the window, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. "She's out cold," he said softly. "Didn't even flinch when I tripped over the diaper bag." Hannah smiled. "You're a natural." He laughed. "Natural? I haven't slept in 2 days, and I forgot to burp her before laying her down." "Still," she said, leaning into him, "you look like a father." They sat together in silence, listening to the soft hum of the baby monitor. Outside, the wind moved gently through the trees, carrying the smell of wet earth and cedar. It was peaceful, but underneath that peace, Hannah felt something stir. A whisper of fear. What if this wasn't forever? What if the birth mother changed her mind? What if something happened to Hope? She tried to shake it off, but the thought clung to her heart like static. That night, around 2 a.m., Hope began to cry. Hannah rushed into the nursery, scooping her up with trembling hands. The baby's tiny face was scrunched tight, her cry sharp and new. Hannah rocked her gently, whispering, "Sure, it's okay." "Mama's here." The word slipped out. Mama. It startled her. For years, that word had belonged to other women. Now it belonged to her. She felt something shift inside. Not just joy, but a deep, aching gratitude. "Lord," she whispered, "if you take everything else away, please don't take this." She sat there until the baby quieted, falling asleep against her chest. The house was still. The world felt right. But in the next room, Mark was sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the adoption packet on the nightstand, his face tense, eyes unreadable. Morning came slow. Hannah found him already dressed, coffee in hand. His jaw was tight. "You didn't sleep?" she asked. He shook his head. "I've been thinking." "About what?" He sighed. "About the adoption paperwork. About the hospital." Hannah's stomach dropped. "Mark, I am not saying anything's wrong," he said quickly. "It's just the note. The one that said your name. Don't you wonder who she was? How she even knew you?" Hannah froze. "No, because that's not what matters." He set his cup down. "But what if she comes back? What if she changes her mind? What if..." "Mark," Hannah interrupted, voice firm now. "Please don't do this. Don't turn our miracle into fear." He rubbed his temples, exhaling hard. I need to be sure this is solid before I let my heart fall all the way in." Her voice softened. "Then maybe that's what faith is, Mark. Letting it fall anyway." They stood in silence, neither willing to move first. That afternoon, while Hope napped, Hannah walked to the porch and stared out at the sky. The clouds were moving fast, carrying the promise of another storm. She felt both peace and tension tangled together, like the sky before lightning. She opened her Bible again, reading Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3, KJV. "Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee." because he trusteth in me. She breathed out slowly. Then keep me there, Lord. Stayed on you. Inside the house, hope stirred. Hannah turned to go back inside, unaware that the next storm would not come from the sky, but from a phone call waiting on their voicemail. Part 4. The Call Back. Sometimes, the miracle you prayed for calls you back, asking if you really trust the God who gave it. The morning sun spilled through the kitchen window, warm and steady, as Hannah rocked Hope in her arms. The baby's breathing was slow, her tiny fist resting against Hannah's chest. The house smelled faintly of coffee and baby powder. For once, life felt still, normal. Even Mark sat across the table with his Bible open, but unread. He'd been quiet all morning. Hannah noticed the tension in his shoulders, but chose silence. She'd learned that faith often grows best in quiet spaces. Then the phone rang. The sound sliced through the calm, sharp and unexpected. Mark reached it first. Hello? Pause. His face changed. Yes, this is Mark Brooks. What kind of update? Another pause. His knuckles whitened around the receiver. I see, he said finally. We'll be there. When he hung up, Hannah already knew. Who was it? She whispered. Safe Haven Adoption, he said, voice heavy. They need to talk. In person. The drive to Waco was silent. The road stretched long and gray beneath a sky thick with clouds. Hope slept in the back seat, her small noises the only sound breaking through the tension. When they reached the agency, Natalie, the same social worker from before, met them in the waiting room. Her smile was kind, but her eyes were serious. Mr. and Mrs. Brooks, she began. Thank you for coming. I'll get straight to it. The birth mother has contacted us. She wants to reopen the adoption. Hannah's world tilted. Reopen? Yes. Legally, she has a 30-day window to change her mind. She's within that period. Mark's voice was tight. What does she want? Natalie hesitated. To meet with you. She says she feels she made a mistake. She wants to know who her baby is with. The words didn't sound real. Hannah's throat closed. But she left a note. She asked for me. Natalie nodded softly. She did. And that's what makes this unusual. She said she dreamed your name, that she felt led, but she's young, alone, and scared. She's asking to see Hope. Just once. Hannah's eyes blurred with tears. Once? And then what? Natalie looked at her gently. We don't know yet. That night, back home, the house felt different. The same walls, same ticking clock. But now everything hummed with uncertainty. Mark sat at the table. Papers spread before him. Hannah paced near the window, Hope sleeping soundly in her crib. This isn't fair, she said, her voice breaking. God wouldn't give us something only to take it away. Mark rubbed his forehead. Maybe he's not taking it away. Maybe he's asking if we trust him with it. She turned to him, eyes wet. I do trust him, but this doesn't make sense. He nodded slowly. Neither did the cross, Hannah. The words hung in the air, heavy and true. She sank into the chair across from him. What if we lose her? Mark's voice softened. Then we'll lose her into his hands, not ours. At midnight, Hannah couldn't sleep. She sat in the nursery watching Hope's chest rise and fall under the soft glow of the nightlight. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that presses on your ribs. Her Bible lay open on her lap to Job chapter 1, verse 21, King James Version. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. She read it aloud through clenched teeth. How, Lord? How do I bless you when I'm terrified? Tears slipped down her face. She reached into the crib and brushed her fingers over Hope's tiny hand. You gave her to us? She whispered. Please don't take her back. But deep inside, another voice, quieter, steadier, began to stir. She was mine before she was yours. The words didn't feel cruel. They felt holy. She bowed her head, whispering, then teach me how to hold her like she's yours. The next afternoon, Hannah and Mark drove to meet the birth mother. The adoption agency had arranged for a quiet room at a nearby family center. Hannah's stomach twisted with every mile. When they arrived, Natalie led them in. A young woman sat at the table, hands clasped, a hospital bracelet still on her wrist. She couldn't have been more than 20. Her name was Maya. She said slowly when they entered. Her voice shook. "You're Hannah?" Hannah nodded, barely able to breathe. "Yes." Maya's eyes filled instantly. "I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I could handle letting her go, but I can't stop thinking about her." Hannah's heart cracked. She wanted to be angry, but looking at Maya, she couldn't be. She saw herself, years of praying, hoping, waiting. "She's beautiful," Maya continued, her voice trembling. "I don't even know why I wrote your name. I just saw it in a dream the night before she was born. I didn't know you, but I felt peace when I did it." Hannah's breath caught. "You dreamed my name?" Maya nodded, over and over. "I thought maybe God wanted me to trust you." Silence filled the room. Then Hannah reached across the table and took Maya's shaking hands. "Maybe," she said softly. "He wants both of us to trust him." After the meeting, Hannah sat in the car for a long time before starting the engine. She stared through the windshield at nothing, her heart torn between gratitude and fear. Mark finally spoke. "What now?" She looked down at her hands. "Now we pray and we wait." That night, she wrote in her journal, "The Lord gave and the Lord can take away. But he can also give again in ways I don't understand. Maybe miracles aren't meant to be possessed, only protected. I don't know how this ends, but I know who holds the ending." She closed the notebook and whispered, "Help me keep my heart open, even when it's breaking.